make sure it's working. I think it's streaming. Okay, so yeah. So I'm gonna send you this link. I mean, I wouldn't watch this right now because, like, you know, you could look. All right, so let's say I don't know. Hold up. I don't know anything to do with web development or just anything. Period. So I'm gonna go to this right here, and I made a index. Now, index is basically the main page. So when you go into the directory, let's say it is shub, right? There's nothing here because I didn't put anything in there, but like what's being hosted right now is this full trail.
Got you. Okay.
So we're starting there. We're gonna let me see if there's a way I could yeah, that's gonna be better. So I'm just gonna drag this from here. Okay.
Wait,
so
hold on. Side topic. You use snipping tool?
yeah, I use snipping tool.
Why?
I mean, I could use share X.
No, not even a share X. Just hit Shift, Windows button, and the S.
Shift, Windows button, S. No way.
Yeah. It's just like MacBook ones.
That's sick. Okay, I had no
It's
clue.
automatically copies it, so you don't have to like do anything. Once you like do that and take a screenshot of a window or like whatever you drag or make a box, just hit paste and it'll make a screenshot. Or
That's
like
sick.
if you want to save it, it saves too. It
Okay.
saves in a clipboard, so I don't like. Bro, come on, stop using snip instead.
All right, so you ready?
Yeah.
So, starting from scratch, remove the PHP. We can write HTML in the PHP code, the PHP page or file. Okay. So we're gonna start with the basic HTML, boilerplate. So we need what? Title. What else do we need? What else do you think? We need body maybe.
Body.
But where do we put our sources, or not sources? Where do we like reference our like let's say your CSS, your JavaScript sources, like your scripts.
Is that right after HTML?
So head,
Yeah, I think so.
and then let's say header here.
And the title, doesn't title go inside? No, yeah, I think you're right.
So
I think it's fine.
I mean, let's check. We'll use this. Every HTML document must have title element in the head section. In the head section, so.
It is, yeah. Oh, there you go.
So shubs. Site. pretty creative. HTML head shubs site. And then what we got here, we got the header, we got the body, we got the footer. Now let's say 2020 Scooby-Doo Productions, LLC, JKC Corporation. Okay. Now what else do we put? Body here, a body, and the header. Okay? Right?
Yep.
I'm the header, I'm a body, 2020 Scooby-Doo Productions.
Gotcha.
That's kind of cringy, so I'm just gonna like, but I'm gonna do that. But okay, so we got Scooby-Doo Productions. So now, do you want to get into PHP, or do you want to get a touch start on, or head start with CSS, or refresh on CSS?
Refresh on CSS.
So I'm gonna tell you what it is. It's link re dot CSS. But I want to show you on W3 schools. So to add a style sheet, now there are two ways we can do add CSS to this this page right now. We could do this thing called Inline Css. Inline CSS allows you to apply a unique style to one HTML element at a time. You assign CSS to a specific. So basically, what it says is
So it's
you.
like std, like namespace std in C++, right? Like instead of like you have to add std and then colon and then for each CF statement.
You're doing it inside of the same class, basically. Think about it like that. That's inline.
Okay. Yeah.
So where it should be in another file, instead of doing it in another file, you throw it in here. So this is how you would do it. You would type style, and then close the style, and then you would put, let's say, body. Alright, and then you would put background, wait, hold up, background color F 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? Actually, wait, that's just white. 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? And then you would do that. That's not 6, I can't count, but so we have that, right? Now what happens here is basically I'm taking body, so this tag right there, boom, right here, there. I'm taking that, and I'm basically telling it that, like, you know, I want anything inside of body
to be whatever color that is.
So let's see. The whole damn website is like that now. The reason why is because body is like the main thing. So like it's like, for example.
Yeah, 'cause all you have is body. If you include something else, it'll be different.
Yeah. So let's try that. So let's say header. One, two, three, four, five, six. Okay. And let's do that to the footer. Okay. Now we want this text to be white so we can see it. So how do we do that? We go back to body, and we type body again.
Why did you say the same one?
What do you mean?
Just right under background color in the function form.
Let's say I want to make a specific tag inside of the body, a specific color. So for example, let's say P and P, and then so wait, hold up. Let me clarify real quick. P is a paragraph, okay? And let's say I want to use pre, and now pre tag is like pre-format. It's that, so like pre-tag HTML. I'm not the best explainer, so I'm just gonna be referring back to here just to validate it. The pre-tag defines pre-formatted text in the pre blah blah blah. So that basically means this right here. That was a horrible explanation. Sorry. Like I really, I'll show you here. So check this out. Let me put something in here.
But because you made a paragraph, there's an indent space added already.
So this is the first one is pre, right here, and then the second one is paragraph. You feel me?
Yeah.
Okay, so now sorry, I was just moving something. Okay, so So we have pre-formatted, we have paragraph. Now we go back here. Now let's say I want to just specifically do this one. See, if I like do something like this, for example, font color. Actually, it would be color, but I just want to see let's show you what happens if you use this. 1 2 3 4 5 6, whatever. At this point, just like whatever. Okay. Wait, I just realized that's the same color that it originally is. Hold up. So, right? It doesn't make a difference. Font color. So CSS font color. What is font color? That's not where it's color, by the way. You're supposed to originally use color for this, but like a lot of people get it confused. So CSS font color. Wait, hold up. Okay, it doesn't even come up here anymore. Okay, so never mind. But you're supposed to use color. So it would work like this. I did that to the footer, right? So let's say I want to make the text, this text white. So 1 2 3 4, whatever. We're using this, okay? Right? I'm a body. I want to make, let's say, the P tag. So just the paragraph. I only want paragraph to be white. Okay? So if I want just this paragraph to be white, what do? I do the color. But like if I put it in body, what happens? I put it in body. Okay. Right? Now they're both white. No way, all of it is white. So yeah. How do I make it specifically just for this?
That's why you made a different one.
So we put dot P. Oh wait, I didn't put anything in there. It's not being used, it says. Oh, wait, I don't know why I put dot, sorry. So, you see this?
Yeah.
Now I'm going to show you something really cool, okay? Actually, it's not going to be as cool, but you know what I mean? So, I'm going to make a, so we don't always have to use pre-existing elements made in HTML. What does that mean? That means we can make our own kind of components, modules, stuff like that, right? So, let's use it. How do we do it? We use a div tag. So div, I'm a div, okay? Now we have I'm a div here. How do I make it so this is not touching this footer, because we don't want the footer to be annoyed like that, right? We got to add some padding. How do we add some padding? You got to go back into this boy, and then you got to type. So we're doing it to this div. So we got to make a new div. We got to make a new name. So like, let's say before footer, and let's put it as, I don't know. Let's just put padding bottom, and then let's say 10px for starters. And it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. Why? Because we just made a class, not a class. I don't know what the CSS class. Let's double check. Nope, that's different. That's different. CSS div. So my div, blah blah blah. Isn't that class? My div? Yeah, it's class. Okay, whatever. All right. So, boom. We put a period before it. Okay. Now it says it's gray. The reason why it's gray is because it's unused. So now I go here, and I put class equals, and I put before footer. Then I go back, and you see how now there's padding here?
Yeah, I see that.
Okay, so now I'm gonna ask you this. How do you think I put this? This is inline. How do I organize it? Because what we have to do is, as an engineer, I mean, you're going into engineering, like, you know, you gotta have this thing called, I mean, it's not specific, but like something like principle. Wait, hold up. Solid. So, in object-oriented programming, solid is a mnemonic. Mnemonic acronym for 5 design principles intended to make software designs more understandable, flexible, and maintainable. It is not related to Grass. Grass is something different, but like look over here. And now when we're going to use PHP, when we incorporate PHP, we're going to use these principles. Single responsibility, open close principle, Liskov. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. I mean, like, I read this myself right here. So like, I didn't read this in school. So, but this stuff, right? Okay. We have to implement this. But right now, what we're doing HTML and CSS, we don't really like need that necessarily, because I mean, it's just very basic, but that's when you get really crazy. But like, you can still apply, it's kind of like, you could still organize it the same way, with the idea that you want it to be loosely coupled and you want to quickly access the things that you want to grab. So like, how we do this is, actually I'm going to ask you, how do I do it? How do I take this in its own file?
Make another script for it and then call it in the index.php.
Yep. So index dot well, let's call it main.css. It always ends in the CSS. Now we literally just take everything here and we put it in here. Okay?
Yep.
You think it's good now?
Yeah. So you just put it there. You call the function. So the main website still works the same way, but it's just going somewhere else.
So how do we put it in?
Now go to the main CSS. Did you put that in?
Yeah, put it in. So now how do I get it from here? The answer is here still. I made it in the beginning.
Oh, the link rel.css, is that something that has something to do with
Yeah, so what do I have to modify here?
Just with main.css?
What do I do here? Just type main?
Yeah. Does that work?
Didn't work. Well, let's see why. So if we're wondering why it's not working even though we called it, main.css, it's right there, right? And it's called main.css, it's in the same thing. So like, let's make sure that the directory is, it even exists. So main.css, it exists. Okay, we know that it exists. So why is it calling like that? Let's maybe try adding a trail here. right? It didn't work still. Let's go back here. Maybe we have to do href. And what href is basically, it's like this. I'm gonna skip that and go back to it because this is important.
Wait, is that? It's just a. Yeah, I know that. I know that. Called HREF.
Okay, so you know, there's another thing that you should know is like you could add stuff inside of this code. So like for example, target, and then you do blank, and what that does is basically you go here. When you click this,
it takes you to Google. Yeah.
But it opens it in a new tab. The only reason why it does that, if I remove that, refresh.
It'll open the same one. Yeah.
So these are different things you could add. I mean, you're familiar with it already, but like we need to add it here, and we need to tell it that it's a style sheet. So we don't put the HR. We don't do that. We do style sheet or styles. Actually, wait. I got it completely mixed up. Holy crap, I wasn't even thinking. So you gotta like write style sheet here. And then you gotta put it here, sorry. So main.css, okay?
Got it.
href, source.
So style sheet, you're just naming it now. You're just introducing it now. There's like nowhere in the sheet you put style sheet.
What do you mean?
Nowhere in the code, like I saw style sheet.
It knows.
How?
Well, let's figure it out. It's already it's an attribute value. So this right here, attribute, whatever. So like this thing right here, this target, what is this? What would you call this thing?
The new tab.
Yeah, I know, we know what it does, but do we know what this is, or what this is? Like, what's the similarity? What do these things have in common? The things that I'm highlighting. This thing, this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing. What do these things have in common?
They're all referencing something else.
They're attributes.
Yeah.
So
they're pre-made. Like it's this how to explain it?
well, attribute
like
describes something,
like
right?
a plot function in MATLAB. Like it's just there.
Well, attribute describes something, right? So when we say the style sheet attribute describes import. Style sheet describes this. So when you put style sheet, this is what you have to provide. The description shows you what you have to provide, what you have to do with it. So
I got it.
So we go back here. It's working because you go source and you go to main CSS and it takes us here, okay? Now this kind of look ugly. We need to make this look nice, right? So we're not gonna get into like the cool like that stuff yet, but like think about it like this. We have our header, we have the body, this is also the body, this is the link, this is a div. We have the div to deal with. How do we already know how to mess with the before footer now, right? You know what a div is for now? Div's pretty important. Do you know what a div is for now?
No.
So when you want to assign something in HTML or anything, you could do it to PHP and put PHP inside of the div and the style the PHP inside of it.
I forgot what div was.
Well, let's Google it. But like before I show you that, I explained this right here, right? So you notice how if I put this outside of this, what's the difference now? This and this.
That comes right before the footer, and the other one comes
After.
inside the body. Oh no, wait. Oh, does it show up on the hyper? No, it doesn't show up.
So this is closed. This one's enclosed with something, and this one has nothing around it.
So where would it? So are they going to be faced differently, or is only one of them going to show and one of them is not going to show?
So they're both gonna show. Let me show you. Alright? Do you notice how there's still a spacing right here?
Yeah.
Do you see how there's still a space?
Space right after the hyperlink. Yeah.
So if I put this div under, or I mean, if I put this message under this div,
They don't do right after each other. Yeah.
but look, it's touching the footer now. Why is that happening? And why is there space in between here now?
Wait, go back. Is there a paragraph thing right before? before the hyperlink, there's a paragraph.
Right, what do you mean? Right here?
I thought a paragraph has like pre-deposited like indents.
No, it doesn't. It's no.
Yeah, I think it does.
No. I mean, it has its defaults. Yeah, everything has a default, but like.
Yeah, the default there's space in default. So like if you just put like 2 sentences
Let's see.
right after each other. Yeah.
I'm a body. I'm a body. I'm a body. So it does have its space, right?
Yeah.
But how come when I put it gives it space, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But that's a you gave a really good example, but still the point I'm trying to make is still different because think about it like this. Think about it top down processing. I don't know, actually that's psychology. That has nothing to do with this, but like think about from the top to the bottom. Think about what is it called in code when you read from the top and you read from the bottom?
I am not sure. I don't think any code reads from the bottom.
Well, I mean, it's like ordered structure. When you're coding something, you're writing instructions, right? And it compiles or reads it from top to bottom. So whatever comes before the ladder is processed first.
Yeah. So whenever something stops, that's how they identify error.
So here, div class before footer. I'm a div. What we did to before footer is padding bottom 10px.
Oh, I see.
So when I put this here, it does this because there's no padding on this. But this is a div that has padding. So that 10px right here, that 10px right here, that's the padding. So like if I change this to just padding, because you can do padding and it'll do top, left, right, bottom. So if I save, refresh.
Padding up, just top. So like either way, there'll be a padding.
Mm-hmm. But
Instead of adding padding to the body, why don't you just add the padding top at the footer, right where the footer node is, and then whatever you put in however order you put, there'll be space.
so padding here.
No. Wait.
Yeah, this is what you were saying.
Alright, yeah. That's what.
Okay.
Alright, fine now. Made it bigger.
What happened? It didn't do the padding above it.
It did the padding everywhere. To the left, right, and bottom.
The reason is because think about it like this. We have one line.
You added padding. You just added padding, right? Why don't you just do padding and hyphen top? If
So-
you do that, then it'll be fine.
So it'll be fine, and it'll be like this. The white is gonna go up to the bottom of the two.
Mhm.
But the thing is, you want space outside of the footer, right?
Alright.
So if you put padding, like let's say 100, right? 103.
Yeah.
It's still not providing that space that we're looking for here, but because now we assume that this whole thing is the footer. Now this entire thing is a footer.
I mean, so you can do the same thing you did for like the body, like how you made the font color instead of the whole tile. You can just put that, make a different one with same like the footer, like overload that, and not in the main.css. Just make in the main.css, make another footer, and in that you can add the padding, so it'll be different, like just like you did with the body.
Instead of using footer though, that's where the div comes in.
Oh, okay, alright, I see
So-
the point of it.
So we're making a class. So before footer again, and then we're adding that padding, and we're doing 100px. Okay, nothing's gonna load. Okay, so wait, actually I just broke it. Hold up. Okay.
I think it's the main, bro.
It's already reading it from here though. And then you have the footer here. It's because I didn't close this div tag. Always close your tags, by the way. And so like we're trying to make that class, right? So we put before footer here. It still works, okay? Now we're gonna put a div and we're gonna put class equals, and we're gonna put whatever we want here. So before footer is what we're putting.
I thought so. I thought so. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Okay. So then what do we do? Now what do we want to do? Let's say we added. Okay, we added spacing. We did all of that. We closed it. The difference is we did it. Like we added this and we didn't put it inside of this. So like what happens if we close it? So this is basically wrapping it now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So why does that happen? So we added 100 padding.
Because there's 100 padding on each side now.
100.
So basically before the padding was there and like an open space. But now the padding is there across like the line that we put for footers, right?
Yeah, exactly. So if we do padding bottom, would it fix?
No, top.
There you go. Okay, so now why don't we add some PHP? Even though I know the site is like really janky and shit. Here, one sec though. Let me like do one thing.
You know what's really educating? It's the fact that like you're talking to me exactly how I talk to those kids in class.
I mean, it works. This is how we.
It does work. Like even this on so this shit that I'm like, oh yeah, this is it. I'm still like understanding it because like there's always something that I don't know. So why would I stop you in the middle of something that I do know when you might just hit a point that I forgot?
If there's something you know, just tell me to skip it.
No, that's what I don't want to do. See, that's a trait.
Well, I mean, if you already know it, then you don't have to waste time. We don't have to waste time learning that.
The thing is, it never hurts to go back.
It doesn't, bro. That's so true.
Why would I stop it?
True. All right. So that's just basic CSS. There's so much you could do. I'm not gonna really go into it because I want to show you the PHP and like the hard. This is stuff that's gonna be fine.
Most of the stuff I've already done and I already know. The only thing I didn't do was do it in terms of CSS. But other than that, the same thing I've made like multiple times. It's like this is like very easy stuff. But
Bet.
the one thing I learned was like calling the CSS. I never did that. I just did a basic HTML because it works. You can do the same thing in just regular HTML much faster and in much concise code. But
You want to see some crazy stuff real quick?
sure,
No, I mean like some really crazy stuff.
sure, I'm down.
Okay, this is a whole tutorial, but check this out. Ready? We're gonna go in Photoshop.
What?
Why are we going in Photoshop?
I don't know.
We're gonna organize it a bit. Image.
Oh, I'm gonna add a picture.
Yeah, we're gonna go crazier than that though. So HTML and CSS is powerful, bro. When I tell you this, I mean like you don't. You could do a lot of things in CSS that you would expect JavaScript to do. So, for example, let's go here and let's make a new file. Okay, let's do 1 second. Actually, let's just use this. Already? Okay. Wait, hold on. Let me get the right. So we're in here, images. We have the image. Okay, great, cool. Now what do we want? Let's say we make this isometric. How do we do that? We have to put this in Illustrator, but before we do that, we have to save this as a SVG, scalable vector graphic. And what the benefit of using SVG is, no matter what scale you're at, it will always retain its quality. And the reason why it always retains its quality is because it's not a rasterized or rendered, or yeah, it's not a rasterized image. It's a rendered image. It's rendered off of numbers and code. So that code retains its shape.
Okay.
So so like for example, I just saved this.
That kind of stuff is like already there. Like you don't have to worry about it.
What do you mean?
When you zoom into any, oh wait, that does make sense.
I'm gonna show you the difference.
I've never thought about it.
So like if I go to image here, SVG, right? So now we have two files in here, SVG, wait. Right? So we have IGPSD and SVG, right? Let's look at the difference, okay? Now this bad boy is PNG. Now this is SVG, okay?
Okay.
Actually, I didn't do it right. But like, let me show you here. So I'm gonna, do you see how it's blurry when I zoom in?
Yeah.
So if I go to CD, this is where it's hosted another one. I host another one, okay? So let me just find it for you real quick. IG circle. No, that's not it. That's not it. Okay, this right here. Actually, that still isn't it.
Yeah.
Instead, what we're gonna do is basically, I'm just gonna go in Illustrator and just show you. Ooh. I've already done this before, but like, I'm just gonna show you. So we have the logo here. Now we have layers to it from that file. So if you look in this group, we have layer 1, layer ellipses, and all of that, right? So these are all shapes, okay? The best benefit of SVG is since you're working with code and not just graphics design, I guess, or graphics. Actually, wait, no, I shouldn't just call it that, but like, I'm working with, I could work with the code. So like, if I go to the source of a SVG file, so this SVG, I go to source, see how it says image ID and perfect gamers, and then width, height, and then it has this as a source. If you go to an image, so this, and you control I, you can't really like see anything except for this, right? And this is a if I go here, I have this whole thing. So what I'm trying to say is there's code here that's not here, and we can manipulate this based off of the layers that we make here. So when I call a SVG on the site, all these layers I can touch. So I can make it so when you hover onto this image, when I hover onto this image, the headset disappears. You know what? We'll go as simple as that. When I touch this image, the headset will disappear, okay? How do we do that? Let's save, okay? Let's save as SVG. Yeah, okay. But let's not touch the let's not actually save it. Let's grab the code. So I hit SVG code, and on my other monitor, this came up, okay? Now let's see what happens. So we're gonna go here, and we're just gonna paste it here, just see what happens, okay? What came up?
That's like the picture of...
That's actually a mess. That is a mess. Let me just go back here. Okay. Let me try that again. So there's gonna be a lot that is about to come up. That's huge. So why don't I show you some PHP with it too? So to save that headache and clean it up, you're not regularly supposed to, I mean, like, this is just okay, so PHP, right? Let's say svg.php, okay? We throw that in there, okay? And then we go here and we do this. This is inline PHP. So we always start with a
adding that bit of the code that is not present and putting it in the, forcing it to be in the other one. So when you zoom it, it's like, this is there. This feels like cheating, bro.
Huh?
This feels like cheating.
I know, it's great. So now when I refresh here, this comes up. But wait, it's not in my code. It's right here. And we don't need this unnecessary stuff. So we have that. We have this. We have yeah. We don't. Wait, 1 second. I'm trying to see if we need this. No, we don't. Let me just see if we need that SVG part. But okay, so now.
This is like heavy cheating.
Okay, how about okay? Let me show you something else. So we got PHP file here, and let's do let's make a config file, and let's do this. PHP switch. Hold up, let me try to see. Let me try to see if I could use PHP case switch case. I'm trying to see what I can do for a config file. We could use the switch method with case based off of your server document root. Wait, no. PHP 7. So we're gonna use this for so you know how we use W3 scopes for this stuff? We're gonna use it for this. So let's say we want to use a switch statement, okay? Spelled that wrong. Switch, okay? Boom. Let's just copy this whole thing, okay? Now we have a switch. Now it basically says echo is basically printing it out. So think about this as like system line print. Or what are you familiar with? Print line?
I'm familiar with that. I've used all of them.
Okay.
System dot print dot out ln.
South. South tab. Oh wait, that doesn't work here. But so yeah, that's the same thing as this, okay? But like it renders on the website. So now break, right? But we also want a default. Switch default. Oh wait, hold up.
Yeah, default. I know the default.
So where is what?
Something has to work.
So let's add a default and let's throw it. So we remove this and we just put it in here. Okay. Now this is the default. Okay. Now let's remove this and put a variable here. So let's say title. Wait, no, not server title. What site title equals, and then this string.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's do that again here. So it says branch and switch is a duplicate. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Let me like.
It's because it's redundant. It's other in any case it's doing the same thing. That's why it's doing it.
Yep. Don't worry. We're gonna fix that. Just one sec. So I'm trying to. I'm making a config on the fly, bro. So give me one sec. So So server document root. This is a global variable. This right here. And this can be used for multiple things. So if I go to PHP and I want to learn global. Do they have globals here? It says these super global variables are blah 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 blah. They're always accessible regardless of scope, meaning I could use it here, right here. So I can put PHP and I could put echo, and then I could do that, and then I could throw in server. Hold up. Server. And how do I use it? Let's say you put document root here, but let's say I put just that. Server. Let's just see what happens, okay? It says array to string conversion, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So array to string conversion. So I'm trying to echo it, so. Try that. Still the same issue. I have to use it with something. So let's say, let's just use this. What is that showing me here?
So link for the picture.
So it says that I'm on index, right? So now we're gonna make a case where it says case. This is the condition. We're not putting echo here, but I'm sorry. So switch. It basically is saying switch based off of this. So if I say shub.index.php right here in the case, so on the case that server php self equals shub.index.php, then do this. Okay? So if I make a new folder, or not new folder, but new page. So let's say, wait, no, let me do it through here. New page here, and I put page 1, page 2, okay? Now, I have shub.index.php for here. Now, if I go to page 2.php, and I post this, what will come out? What do you think will, what do you think the output would be? What will it echo? What does this echo?
The title. Eyes apple? Is that what it will show?
No. It won't show that. It will show. It just. I just wrote this. I didn't even call this. So to be able to access this, this is not accessible in this. This is only. This file is only accessible if I include it here. So, what does that mean?
I'm not sure what it'll show, bro.
Okay, so it will show you this. It will show you, it literally prints out this. So on the main page, we're moving back here. Notice how it says shub.index.php. If I go here and I print it out and I refresh it, it will say shub/ It's highlighted. I'm 100. I'm under it.
So the eyes apple will show up there?
No. It will.
Index.php?
Yeah. No, it won't show up index.php because basically it's a global variable. And it's global meaning it could be accessible outside. It said so on the site. It said it could be accessed anywhere. We could use it anywhere. I'm not.
PHP, the inside part, the self PHP or something like that.
Yeah. So. Yep. So it's gonna print out this. And what if I do something else here? Document root, for example.
That's what it'll show.
It shows up this whole thing.
Okay.
And if I search, if I do, what was it? What do you think? Let's go on W3 Schools. I'm not going to print it. I'm just going to show you the documentation and you could probably, I'm going to let you guess it. So get ready. The first one. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was like right there. Returns the file name of the correctly executing a script.
So,
yeah, so whichever one's running, it'll just show the name of it.
Yeah, so if this main one, if the index.php, when you go on this website and you use PHP self, shub.index.php comes up. If I do it here, what will come up? Except for the index PHP will be changed. What will it be changed to?
The file name. So they're a PNG file?
It will.
No, the script file, the script name. Would it be the name of the script?
It would be the name of the file. Because we're doing. So when we go back to this thing, it says returns the file name of the currently executing script.
I got that, but what file are we using?
We're using.
Page 2, so it'll just show page 2.
Yeah. Boom. So we grab that and we throw it in here. Okay. Let's remove this because I don't know, whatever. Okay? And we don't need this right now because this doesn't matter. We don't have to close it. So now we define our variable.
Wait, give me a second. I forgot to log into my class.
Okay. Okay, so site title equals I is Apple, okay? So now that so let's say I include it, okay? So I do this, and let's say I do there are different ways to include it. So there's one way you could do PHP include, or you can do PHP require once, and then hold up 1 second. So require once config.php. Okay. Now what did I do just now? What did this just do?
Call that function with config PHP. Go to the third tab real quick. Let me see that. Okay.
So if I use include for SVG and I put the path, this is path file. If I do the same thing for require once, it's the same thing as include, except for it does it once. Whereas you can do this multiple times. Check this out. Right?
Okay.
But if I do this, check this out. It's still there, right? Let's.
Then you add another one, it'll still show one.
It'll show one. If I change this to include and have that require once, it does it twice.
No, 2 times still. Yeah.
If I do require once again, it doesn't show up a third time.
Yeah.
That's basically all it does. The reason why that's important is because you don't want to call the same thing over and over again when you're like doing multiple classes and multiple, you know, it's just solid. This is a solid principle, I think. I'm saying I think because I'm just thinking solid as in loosely coupled as possible and organized. That's it. So now that we like reference this, like reference as in like this thing is called, we can access its variables, everything in this file. So think about this as a class in Java. So I'm accessing a, let's say I have a job, I'm doing Java, writing Java, okay? And I have my main class, and then I have my second class. So if I have the 2 classes, I want to call it somehow, right? How do I call the second class? Do you remember by chance?
The same way, wait, go back.
I'm not asking in PHP, I'm asking in Java.
Isn't that in the beginning? Just like how everything is?
Yep.
All in the beginning? Yeah.
Wait,
Always has to be the main.
how do I call a class file? My bad. So how do I call a class file?
So whatever the class name is, dot, whatever function you're calling on, is that what you're asking?
So I person.java and student.java. How I do that is this. You extend it. Or you don't extend it, sorry. You type person class. And then you go here.
Oh, I never used the extends person part. I never used that.
You could do other stuff. Like, for example, you import the class. Actually, you don't import the class. You import, like, libraries and stuff like that. But that would be for a package. That's way beyond. Okay. So, require once, blah, 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 blah. Okay, this is basically getting another class in your project. And let's say now that I have this reference, I can call variables or access variables. So, like, if I want to reference something like, what do we have here anyways? Site title. let's echo that variable. So when I do that, what happens?
Let me see that real quick.
If I call site title, which is here, I is for Apple comes up.
Yep.
So let's say I get the directory for this wrong, okay? So now it's not indexed, so it's not the case.
It would just show the case name.
It comes up as an error. Why does it come up as an error?
Because the location's not there. You just misworded the case.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the reason why the switch statement is so important here is because you could basically make one config to control everything in your whole thing, and then you could abstract it and like use it for database, or you know, like you could go so far with just these tools. You could build your library of knowledge for different things. So like so basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make a universal nav bar. How am I doing that? It's like this. Site title, Shub's home index. Okay? And let's say I call this here, okay?
Okay.
Let me do that, okay? Now I go to page 2. I get I is bar. Why do I get I is bar? Let's look at it again. The switch statement basically, this is a condition, and this is what this is the I don't want to say function or method because to be honest I don't know what you would call it. But switch off of that from that condition. So basically based off of server PHP self, you switch off each case. So if server PHP self equals shub index.php, then define the variable site title shub's index. Otherwise, shub page 2 echo I is bar. Or you could do and then you could call that variable instead of putting this here. You just put site. What did I put? Site title. So do you see what's happening here? I'm not typing on index PHP or PHP2 or page 2. Look, it says Shub's index on this page, and it says Shub's page 2 here. You go to config. You see this? Case. The text is here in the config PHP. Both of it, Shub's page 2 and Shub's index are both in the config PHP.
Okay.
They're not in index.php, nor it is in page2.php. So why is it showing just this for index and why is it showing this for page 2? It's because the condition that we have set for like in the parameter, that we basically say switch based off of server PHP self, and server PHP self outputs your directory, okay? So
Okay.
we say basically,
Yeah, go ahead.
we are basically saying if server PHP self equals this case, then set site title to this. Break. Otherwise, if show index.php doesn't equal, or I mean, if server PHP self doesn't equal index.php, then show this.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah, I got you.
Can you explain it to me?
So if you when you go to the index PHP, and the condition that you have set, if the first one doesn't match, the second one goes in. That's basically what you said. But the no, not there. Go back to the code. There's one thing I need to confirm. But hold on a second. Let me see if my class started.
Okay, yeah. Don't worry. Take your time. Let's just look at this real quick for one last second.
Okay.
What's happening here?
So that's the first condition. So basically, the condition is that if it's returning a file name, then it'll show. But right now, I feel like the condition itself is based on the case. Because whichever one, so let's say the page2.php is executing, it'll show that.
Yeah. This
I'm
makes
not
every.
sure
Huh?
why wouldn't the index show up?
Why won't the index show up? That's a good question. The reason why it's not showing up is because when you type, this is great. This is actually gonna, bro. Check this out. So when you go here and you echo, you print this out.
Okay.
So server, when you echo this on page 2, do you notice what comes up?
It shows the directory, kind of. Like, it shows the path too.
It shows that this global variable equals this. The reason why it equals this is because when we refer back to our documentation, it says it returns the file name of the currently executing script. So returns the file name of that currently executing script. That means if I go to index.php, it's going to show up as show/index.php. If I go to billy.php, it's going to show up as show.billy.php. Depending on the page that I'm on, it's going to show the concurrent or the current file name.
So because you're putting in the page 2, that's why it's showing show/page2. But if you're doing the index, it'll show show.index, right?
Yeah, so if I go to john.php and I throw in this same thing, what will come up here? If I'm on john.php,
John.php.
Exactly. And so basically what I'm trying to say is this is for dynamic. It's global and it's not static. Global meaning it's everywhere. Static meaning it doesn't change. Dynamic meaning it changes. So if it's a dynamic variable at this point, it's dynamic because it's based off of the page that you're on now. So now let's look at a switch statement real quick because you're going to use this in beyond like PHP. I mean, this is a terminal, this is OOP. OOP is object-oriented programming. I mean, you know what that is, but yeah. So echo blah 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 blah. What we're doing is switch. We're learning a switch statement, right? Oh, they have it. Okay, good. I mean, they would have it, of course. So let's look at it here. This may be a lot easier to understand what it is. What I'm using, actually, yeah, this will be a lot easier. And we'll try the exercise too. So it says PHP fave color equals red. Now it prints out your favorite color is red. Why does it do that? So like,
because the first case is going through, that's why.
No. Because the first case would be if I remove this, right?
Okay.
And I ran it, nothing comes.
Nothing would run. The default would run.
I mean, it should. Some reason it. Okay, let's say yeah. Wait, 1 second. PHP switch default.
That's what the default. When there's no condition, when there's no condition, obviously that's gonna run.
This matches.
The condition that you have is what file is open, which is currently running. So you don't have to enter a condition. But in this case, it's not using that. So it's gonna print the default again.
So you're right. So faith color equals RSED. SDED doesn't exist, so it prints out this. Okay. So let's change it back to the default, which was red. Okay.
So, yeah, the first case will print. So that's what I'm saying. The one that you have is if you keep the page 2 open, so it's currently executing that, so it'll keep showing /page 2. But if you have your tab on index, it'll show that.
Yeah, that's it. So now you get what a PHP switch is?
Yeah.
But and you see how like it's kind of simple.
This one is a regular switch case that it's any scenario that would be possible. Like even C++, this format is the same.
Okay.
But, not the format, but like the logic of it.
Okay.
But the PHP thing, the PHP.self, like which opens the currently executing thing, is if you go on PHP Storm and keep one tab open, then it'll run that. It'll run the case for that. If you go on page2.php, right now you have page2.php, so if you go on index.php, keep that open, and then do it again, it'll print like shove/index.php.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
You got the full thing down. So not only do you know what switch statements are now, you also know what global variables are, which is very important.
I bet.
So that's how you use it to your advantage when making a website, in the sense that you could basically now make it like this. Check this out. You ready? Title. So, one second, I'm just cleaning everything up. So, based off of this comes up. This is the variable. Require once config. We didn't need echo that. 1 second. I just closed everything by accident, but don't worry, it's gonna be alright.
Why in this control 15?
I did, and it opened up the OOP for some reason. Maybe I already had it existing and it just hid or something, but oh well. So it's coming up as this, right? So like if I make the title, right? And I do this, it doesn't come out, right? If I put this somewhere else, does it come up here? No. Why isn't it doing it? Because we have to what? What do you think it's missing?
Subtitle. You gotta enclose it.
This okay, so I'm gonna tell you a hint. This part is all fine.
Okay.
What do we include right here, where the current indent is at?
Oh, you forgot one of the arrows things. So left arrow.
Left arrow?
Yeah, like facing left. So my open mouse towards left.
Left arrow. What do you mean by left arrow?
Like, here, 1 second. I'll show you how to fix that.
Okay.
Wait, what the fuck? This key right here.
Okay, got you.
Alright, so try that.
Where do I put it? Right here?
Put it after the PHP.
Like this?
No, the other one. Oh, wait. Hold on a second. You have 2 mistakes for the arrow, I think. I'm wondering that you have to close. Wait, at the end of that side title, after the question mark at the end, do you need that arrow or can you take that out?
You need it. You need it to close it. Because otherwise, if you don't do that...
But you're not opening it.
So, do you see this? This one's perfect, right? Do you see how we enclose it?
Yeah.
We can put the H...
Oh, wait, I see what you mean.
So, let's do this. How to print... what are we trying to do? What is this? What would we call this? Anything with a dollar sign. What do we call it?
I don't know. I forgot.
So if dollar underscore server bracket whatever parameter is a if it's a global variable, then what is this? This is not a global variable, but it also has a dollar sign. So what is it?
Local variable?
Variable.
Just a variable.
Yeah. And this variable is inside of config.php, and the reason why we included this right here is so we can access this variable.
Yeah.
Are you with me?
Yeah.
So now our question is, how do we, so this right here, inside of this is where you put the title normally, right?
Yeah.
If we want to modify the title based off of the page that we're on automatically, so we only have to edit this part, then what is our goal? What do we have to try to do in PHP here? If we know that the site title equals the site title Shub's page, and we want that to be our title for the website, and we could just do Shub's page.
Then it'll just show that regardless of what page you open.
Oh, it comes up as Shub's page too, right?
Yeah, so whatever you put there, regardless of what is actually open, it's going to show that.
Yeah, so, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it dynamic. We're trying to make...
So I see what you're trying to do. So whatever page, like let's say you open up another link to the website, you open another like hyperlink, and you wanted to show the title of each like page separately.
Yes.
That was a case for that.
Yeah. So if I have, yeah, exactly. But like, what about this? How do we do it? So now that we have the variable, we know that this is what we have to access. We just have to print it out here. Oh shoot! What are we trying to do in PHP here?
Wait, go back to the config. Would you put the same thing, the whole thing, dollar sign underscore server, and then PHP self again, and then the whole thing there?
Okay, so let's think about it. If we do that, what happens? Let's give it a try. Ready?
Okay.
We throw it in here, okay?
Alright. It's just showing the link.
It worked. What happened? What just happened? What changed?
It's showing the whole thing, not just the title itself.
So, this was the before. Wait, actually, hold up. Pause. Let's say this was the before. Okay?
Okay.
Let's say we throw this in here, okay? So, PHP. Same thing. Nothing happens, right? So, let's see what happens when you throw it outside and you actually print it on the site. Nothing comes up anyways, right? This is still the same concept. What happens is we have to print the variable. So when you're doing this, you're calling the variable, but you're not doing anything with it. You have to print it, or you have to call it somehow. You have to tell it, you have to do something. You have to not modify the variable. You have to manipulate the variable. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to manipulate the variable. In this case, what we're trying to do is we're not trying to access the variable. We access the variable up here, right? Because we already called the config.php, which has the variable defined that based off of the page that we're on. In this case, we're on this page. Set the site title to this. So basically on this page, it's basically saying, okay, server title equals Shub's page 2. So now we already have this variable right here. We already have this variable. And we can access it because we referenced it up here.
Okay.
What we're trying to do, we are trying to post it. We're trying to use it. We're trying to do something with it.
Well, you're running it once. Config PHP.
Oh, don't worry about that. We already have the variable. We already defined the variable. We already accessing the variable and displaying the variable are two different things.
Okay, if everything works, then why just put that statement inside the title?
Thing is, nothing prints out. Our goal is we have to print the variable, Shub. That's what I'm trying to get you to question. I want you to think about it. I want you to ask that goal. Like, what's our goal? Like, what are we trying to do? We have the variable. It doesn't print out. Why doesn't it print out? It's because we didn't manipulate the variable to do anything. We already accessed it above here. So when we put this over here, it's not printing it out. We have to do something with this variable. So how do we do that? We have to print it. How do we print it? That's our question. The answer to this would be...
You just use, wait, you just add another print statement and then dot whatever?
So we don't do that in here, but we use this thing called echo. So, you see what happens?
Okay.
Echo. Now you know what echo is by chance? You get what echo is?
I mean, I saw you using it before, but I didn't look into this section, but...
Okay, I'm here in PHP.
Okay.
Okay. Show me how to print out a string. Any string. It doesn't have to be a variable, just a string.
And I'm not sure PHP, but I can tell you like regular C++ or C or CS.
The code is already here.
Okay.
The code is on this page used already somewhere else on how to do it. Use it for documentation. If we print it, basically, let me show you something here, okay?
Alright.
You see what happened here? We printed it, right?
Yeah.
We used what to print it? What did we...
You use echo.
Echo did what?
So it printed it, basically.
Yeah, so basically we made that variable print out in title in plain text. So if we're trying to... If we want to print out something here, what would we put here? Like if we want to print out dog.
You would put echo again.
Echo, and then what?
Yeah. But what are you trying to print out?
Well, if it's a string, what do you usually enclose a string in?
The quotations.
Okay.
And then whatever you want. I'm not sure what we're trying to print.
Dog.
Alright, then just put dog.
And then do I save it? Is that it?
Yeah, sure, go ahead, right? Or it's... Yeah.
Okay, it did run, but let's say I want to do it again. Let's say we want to echo again. Another line. So we do echo.
But do you need the quotations? Because I see that in the title, and even before you, when you took it out, took that portion out, you didn't really add quotations, you just printed it out.
Okay, let's see what happens when you don't do it. Ready? It becomes a... Look, let's hover.
It won't work. Alright, I see. Because in the next statement you're calling it, and this like an actual variable that you're this already defined, but dog is not defined, so you have to put in quotations.
Okay, so dog. Now let's say I want to print another dog. How do I print another dog?
Same statement again?
So like copy paste like that?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, we'll see. I don't know.
Add a semicolon, yeah.
What did it say? Syntax error, unexpected echo, expecting... What does it expect?
Comma or semicolon.
Where does it expect either of those?
Oh, maybe you can just... You don't need two statements. You can add... after the first one, add a comma and then another quotation. Just use saying the same thing, dog, and then semicolon.
Let's try to do it in 2 lines.
Okay.
I'm trying to show you operations.
Alright, just add a semicolon after this one and the next one.
Like this?
No, semicolon.
Oh, like that?
Yeah.
And then on here?
The one after that too, yeah. Try that.
Yep. Exactly. I was trying to get you to say, like, this is what you have to do every time. You have to use this.
Yeah, obviously. That's like that's the basic thing. But why is it not printing in separate lines if you adding... Is there an nlen function? Like, maybe a \n or something like that?
Why don't we search that? Echo. Let's see what prints out from here.
Yeah, so it is /r and /n. \r, \n. But I don't know what that does. Oh, \n, that's it.
Actually, if you read here, it says the character N writes a new line in Unix, while for Windows, there's a 2-character sequence. To be safe on the side, use RN, like you said. But when you use that, how do you do it? Do you like what do you type here?
So either put it after the first one or put it before the second. Inside the quotations.
Okay.
So go back on the dog thing.
So we don't have to do it though. You know why?
Why?
We can do HTML inside of PHP, which is the cool part. So in this, right here, I'm a body, this one. Let's say I wanna, sorry, I'm thinking about it. So, let's say I wanna add a new line to this header. We do this. Actually, wait, hold up. You see that creates a new line? If I remove this, it'll just be in one line, right? So if I go here, and I put BR, and so what I'm doing here is, do you see how I could put strings in here? Okay. I don't know what the hell we were doing. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Echo BR, that's HTML inside of PHP. So this is PHP. All of this whole entire thing is PHP. And inside of the echo, you can put anything you want. So you could put HTML in here. So BR is HTML for a new line or break. That's it. And then
So is the BR the global variable global like line like new line thing?
yeah, for HTML. Are those a mask? I was gonna get them.
Do you have to put that in echo, or can you put that in like can you put all those three things in the same echo line or no?
I mean, yeah. So you're saying
Yeah. Yep. And then dollar again and echo. Yeah. Okay. Alright. Let's do that.
so we're gonna do something a little different now. We're gonna remove everything we made here because it's kind of like a mess. And we're gonna get CSS right. Meaning we're gonna make a nav bar. We're gonna wait, before I do all of that crap, you see this SVG? I forgot to even show you this.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go back to main CSS and we're gonna call this. One moment. So do you see how it says it has ID? Right here?
Yeah.
So we have a couple. So we have a couple. We had ellipses 1, ellipsis 1 copy, layer 1 copy. Okay? Now those are layers in here, Illustrator. Layer 1 ellipses. Now what we're trying to do is we're trying to manipulate layers. So in this case, let's see if we're trying to manipulate the headset to fade in when you hover on the IG logo. Let's see what layers are affected. Ellipses 1 copy and layer 1. So these IDs. So CSS ID. ID selector, okay? So ID selector styles the element with the ID first name. So let's try to do that right there. So if I go here and I put, let's see which ID, ellipses 1. And put it here. And let's say, hold up. By the way, I haven't worked with SVGs in a minute, so give me 1 second. So, styles the element with, oh, okay. So you do this, SVG, because we're wrapping it in SVG. So you do it like that. What are we trying to do? Sees 1. It already has overflow, enable background, new. Wait, what? You see what happened here?
It disappeared. Yeah.
So we just messed with just that, okay?
Okay.
Now, I made the height so big that that boy disappeared.
Okay. Can you do that? Wait. So is there a global variable that lets you you know how you for the title that we use the self one $sign at which hovered when you open the page title automatically changes.
Yeah.
Is something like that? They do use another global variable that when the mouse hovers over like it activates.
So we don't need to do that. That's all CSS, bro.
Oh, alright.
So we have this back. Um, so we have it like this. Okay, it's set. Now let's do SVG ellipses. So and so set the opacity to 100.
So it makes it disappear.
And then add transition. And then opacity. 10%, I don't know. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
So whoa, you see how the headset right here? I don't know if you could tell by screen share.
I saw it.
It's still there, but you can barely see it.
It says 100%.
It's because we set it to 10.
Oh, okay, I see. Never mind. I was thinking about the opposite way.
Now check this out. This thing right here. I haven't done this in a minute, dude. Like, I don't really like. But what I'm trying to share is. Oh wait. So right now I can manipulate this, right?
Okay.
So if I make another version of this like this, and I make it 50%, or actually 100%, and I remove the hover, and then I make this 0%, and then I add the transition from here to here, remove this for now. Okay. Ready?
Yeah. Yep, I see.
I'm not trying to touch it right now. Okay. So when I hover on this,
Yeah.
that goes away in 2 seconds. That took me a lot longer, but that's basically what I was trying to share.
I got it.
And there are selectors, other selectors. So focus. When you select that, you know, it turns yellow. There's just so many selectors, man. You could do so much. I mean, like, whatever. You get the point, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you can manipulate SVGs, and that's the importance of an SVG. So in a full-scale version of this, this is what you can do with it. If you're tryhard, I mean. Ready?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see. It comes in, yeah. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, the way it's done is actually really simple. You literally grab this whole thing, and you go to Effect 3D. Actually, Distort Transform. Hold up. Give me 1 second. I'm actually. And. Oh. Alright, bro. And then it crashes on you. Never mind, because it crashed. But like.
Goddamn.
Basically, you do that, and then you do the same thing to an outline of IG, and then you make the selector for IG, and then you have the hover translate or whatever. And you would use for this effect right here, what you're doing here is you're using translate. So think about X, Y, and Z. So CSS translate. So yeah. So So think about it like this. We'll do it to this real quick.
So I went somewhere else.
So check this out. You ready? Okay. So
Oh, I see. You're trying to transition it.
so when I hover it,
Maybe if you add a little more delay.
okay. So
Transition time.
the reason why it's not doing it that fast, or is why it's doing it instantly, is because of this. You ready?
Yeah, the
We-
one, the time that you had.
We have to set the transition for it.
Yeah. Transition for like 2 seconds, it'll do the same thing.
What are we doing? Translate? Transform. Alright, ready? Oh, you kind of already saw it.
Oh,
So,
it's the opposite.
so it's the same thing like this 3D thing.
Yeah.
Another thing that you can do with this stuff is... One second, let me go back. You could call it this. You could define it like not media, but like, I forgot how I did it. Let me just remind myself because I use documentation. So CSS selectors. Are you, dude? I hear a lot of wind, bro.
Yeah, it's just my fan.
No, you don't have to take it down. You don't have to. I don't.
It's fine. It's not that hot.
It's called keyframes. So now we learned what? We learned transform. We learned opacity. Now we're gonna learn animation. And we're gonna call it, so it's kind of like programming at this, not programming, but like English. It's simple. So animation. I'm gonna copy this whole thing real quick, okay?
You also, I gotta go eat something. My dad's really mad. I don't know what. Write something down on the PHP thing. That's something that I still have to learn. So maybe the language is, but I'm gonna the website they have open right now. I'm definitely gonna look at that. And for now, like foundation, like I gotta learn how to write it first.
Okay.
Because I understand the concept of everything you just did. That they explained it really well. So I got that part.
HTML, CSS, PHP, all three.
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay.
Once I start doing it myself, I feel like I'll raise questions again.
The next thing you have to learn. Now this you're gonna carry forever, bro. JavaScript.
Yeah, everyone uses that all the time.
So if you want, we could do this too.
Let's start that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me just go through the video over and over again before. Not over and over again. I'll watch it like once, but I still haven't installed the whole thing. Also, is PHP paid?
You could use your Wayne account, bro.
Oh, I can?
Yeah.
Alright, go.
So if you have any other questions though, like just text me and all, and I got you. Yeah, that's pretty much it then.
Bet. I'll
Alright,
start
let me-
like on Fiverr. I'm thinking the same thing you did today, but with like a different picture or a different something. I'll change like small things, kind of perform the same steps, and see how I can write the code.
Okay, don't go into doing Bootstrap yet, or yeah, don't start Bootstrap and stuff.
The one that you just did. So
Yeah.
whenever we started, right from the HTML part, tell here. I'll probably skip the beginning HTML. I'll start from where we included like CSS and the PHP.
Okay, so just be careful with like using like Bootstrap and like stuff that is already made for you, because then you're not learning. So like the way I'm doing it right now is where like, let's say you learn this stuff. Then you go on to Bootstrap, right? And Bootstrap is just a framework in the sense, right? It's CSS, but it's like It's like a theme, basically. Think of it like that, or where you could make the pre-made components and modules and all of that crap. So like if you want a nav bar, you just do /nav and then class equals, and then use the class theme that they've already made in their style sheet that they provide for you. So they already make the styles and stuff like that for you, whereas right now what we were just doing, we were just making it from scratch and stuff like that. Also, I forgot to show you the width and height margin and stuff like that, and the importance of that for a responsive layout and stuff, but that's just...
If you're talking about the width and height of like the text and size of text and like the picture, then maybe you can that seems to be basic. I can try that on myself too.
What's important is the layout, though. You want to learn how to make it responsive and like adaptable. So like you would use things like, for example, media, where it would be at symbol media and then space, and then you'd basically write the width and height, and it says basically under these circumstances make these things this size, this way, etc.
That's like that's the essence of like it's like at the end of the day like my one website is like I want it to be like simplicity. That's like see a Google website is like a plain like standard. Right, like did you see like from for example like scrolling, the more you scroll down it stays the same image but the image inside changes.
Wait, what?
I really want to learn how to do that.
Wait, say again?
Open Google Nest.
Google Nest?
Google Nest router. I was looking for it yesterday and I saw that, so it's definitely there. Yeah, it's not the shop one, but oh yeah, you can see that. Go down, scroll down. See how it's changing as you're scrolling down. See this one's really good. It stops here. The more you scroll,
Bro.
the more information that'll show up. Not just the picture itself, but the statements above. This see go up on that one with the living room picture.
This one?
Yeah, go scroll further up. See the text is changing? At the same time, like it's showing the diff changes in the picture itself.
Yeah.
And that's what like really fascinated me. I'm like, oh shit, that's a really good animation. So maybe I was trying to like incorporate something like that. Well, I don't know how difficult that would be. Like it zooms out and shows the. See, right now it's trying to show the essence of like, oh yeah, the regular routers now are only like have a limited range and sticks to this area. But when you have Google Nest, like it's all the way in the house. Like it shows that, and the transition of the animation like emphasizes that, which is what I wanted to like. But that part is like crazy.
So,
Yeah, but did you ever try to something like that?
no, I haven't, but I think I know what it is.
Bro, you should learn it so you can teach me. It's on the Apple websites too. Most like the Apple website does that too. They added that in almost everything.
It's literally like, yeah, I got you. I think it's React. Yeah, the site is in React. Wait, why would they use I don't know if it's in React. I don't know for sure. But this is interesting. It's cool. Yeah, it's really cool.
Apple did that too with all their new products. Or like the Apple Pencil and then the iPad did that too. Not this one. You have to open like a specific thing. So click like on the iPad, for example. Yeah, exactly that. That's animations as you're scrolling. So essentially you're on the same page, but on the right you see that you're scrolling down. But the more you scroll down, the more information starts coming up.
So durable glass and aluminum design. Okay. So you know that media thing that I was talking about?
Yeah.
I actually don't know. I can't really say anything. I can't say it's media. I have to like look into it, but like that's pretty dope. I don't know anything about this, but I haven't tried this before.
Yeah, but that's like essentially what obviously I won't be able to do that for a while, but
Yeah, this is
And
dope.
you should definitely incorporate. You already at the level where you can just learn that and incorporate it right now in all your websites. It's such a cool factor. Like they include scrolling, not just your interaction. Like your interaction is like the basis of scrolling.
That's cool, bro. I don't know how to do it. But like,
So that's what I wanted to like. So what I was thinking about the websites, like it should be the same page. It shouldn't. When you scroll on